Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, Leo King, and I wanted to have a quick chat with everybody regarding the astrology of these times, especially as we are now here in May of 2022. The reason why I'm doing this is because it's going to be, and it already has been, but it's going to definitely be a major shift that's going to take us where our stories are going to go into areas that we didn't really possibly believe they could go. And that could be all the way from the highest of the highs to the lowest of the lows. I wouldn't be surprised if we feel both sides of that. But the number one thing here is to remember to remain confident and to remain solid within yourself. Now, if you really look at what's happening, of course, the eclipses that we're in are extreme. And we are going to go through, of course, that lunar eclipse that's going to be in square to Saturn. That's going to be happening on the 15th of May here. And we also are seeing Jupiter ingress into Aries, Mercury station retrograde in Gemini. People are going to change their minds. You're going to change your mind. Patience is going to be extreme through these times. So this is definitely not a time to try and force things, because everything that's forced isn't going to work. And I think that the main part of this, with the part of trying to understand when it comes to our belief systems, or when it comes to, you know, what possibly couldn't happen that can, is realizing that we're in a very intense moment here in life where whatever you're holding on to so much, you're going to have to learn true surrender. You know, just because Jupiter is going to leave Pisces and ingress into Aries, we're going to see that happen again, as Jupiter will retrograde in Aries and come back retrograde and ingress back into Pisces with Neptune still there. We're also at a major point where this is a Mars retrograde year that's going to happen in Gemini. So some very major aspects retrograding in Gemini this year, and we've been seeing that as a constant. If you remember, in June of 2021, of course, we had Mercury that was retrograding in Gemini with the solar eclipse there. If you remember 2020, it was Venus retrograde in Gemini. So if there's a constant theme throughout the craziness of these last couple of years, it's been these retrogrades in Gemini. And we're getting another. Think about it this way. The big thing, of course, here is this like real big double whammy here of having, like, we had a Venus retrograde that was pretty intense in 2020. And then, of course, the Mercury retrograde with a solar eclipse in 2021. But now we're going to have in 2022 here Mercury retrograde, of course, in Gemini. And then, of course, a Mars retrograde in Gemini that comes later in the year. And I just want people to know that everything is going to change. Everything's going to change. Just when you thought that you had things solid, everything's going to change. And these nodes that happen to be, of course, in Taurus and Scorpio, and with the South Node being in Scorpio, transformation is definitely part of this moment to get you to a better place. Uranus now halfway through Taurus. If you look at history, this is when the world starts going crazy. This is especially with Jupiter entering into Aries and Chiron in Aries, and this is definitely where the war cries go bigger. And the world war energy and the world redefining moments are going to be extreme. And I think that the way through these times is for you to focus on knowing the connections that you have, knowing the right people, knowing where to put your investment of yourself and the energies of your talents to a better position. Economic collapse. Of course, these are the things that I've been predicting for years and warning you all about, are just surface stuff for you to realize that it's about directing yourself and knowing that you have all the power and all the talent and all the skill and all the world. But really, it's about who we align with in our life. Relationships, beyond just, of course, our romantic fantasies, are really important. And knowing the people that really are here to come together and create a better way are very important. But Jupiter in Aries definitely is remembering that you have to put yourself first before you lose yourself into another person, a friend, a lover, or something that doesn't really align with what you are or takes you away from who you are. A lot of big shocks are going to come to people when it comes to even their beliefs of where their ego created beliefs of how things are supposed to be. This is Jupiter's a great blessing at the end of the transit, not at the beginning. If anything, it begins the new chapter of understanding where things, after, of course, every 12-year cycle, need to be changed and really need to be looked at from a different perspective. And the fact that this lunar eclipse that's coming up is square Saturn in Aquarius, it's going to shock all of our systems and going to shock the real understanding of what really is connected and what really isn't connected in our life. Now, of course, I do Deep Love Tarot on Mondays, and I really originally was going to do this video just letting people know, hey, I'm doing it Tuesday night for this week again. I did it last week on Tuesday night because I had too much come up. But it reminds me of like what I went through this weekend that actually gave me some foresight to help people through their lives. This weekend, of course, I was racing in Huntington Beach for the HB Surf Moto, and I was able to win it, but it didn't come at an easy cost. Of course, it came with, I'm sure you can see, I look like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and you can see my face looks like I've been just fried out, but a lot of it is also, the only way I even won that race was on day 2, is I literally, I crashed into a wave at 40 or 50 miles an hour and completely got thrown off my boat, was behind in the race, had to swim to my boat in the middle of a 6 to 10 foot swell day that were constant, and get on it and not give up and keep going. And I did not trip out. I just said, I'm going to win this race. I don't know how I'm going to win it. I'm going to win this race. And it wasn't about how hard I pushed or how much more gas I gave it. It was by letting the universe just work its way out, letting the way that the waves work, and knowing just how to just stay having fun and staying positive and aligning with what I know how to do best. And, it's been difficult for me the last 24 hours to get back to even just doing all my work with how much I have on my plate, just because I am exhausted. I put everything I had into it. I got fried. Many people went to the hospital. One of my best friends that I raced with ended up in the hospital. It was, everybody that went to the podium, we were all limping, and it reminded me of these times. We're all going to feel like we're going to be limping through things, of things not going the way that we thought we wanted to get to the ultimate happiness or to the ultimate place. And knowing how to stay, positive and stay courageous, and that you can do things that you wouldn't believe that you couldn't. I've done that race. It's only been happening since 2018, and because of the fake, story that the world bought, 2020 and 2021, we couldn't do it. So it had been since 2019. So it had been 3 years since the last time I got to race out in the ocean. And of course, it just happened to be, the biggest swell to ever come through in such a long time, that even myself, who's been out there in the waves so many times, was like looking at these 10-foot faces and going, and I'm sure you've seen it on my Instagram or my Facebook, or I even made a short here on YouTube. I'm sure you saw what it looked like, or one of my buddies who was behind me and him almost shampooing literally 30 feet up in the air into the pier. Having the courage to even face those moments of those swells brought something inside of me that made me realize we're all going to be going through places. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to go through this world the way I want to. Well, you will. You're going to have to face things about things that are not going to work out. People change their minds. Life changes its own mind. The universe changes its own way of working. And lots of things that you thought that you had figured out, you didn't. And you're going to have to be okay with that. And so this is going to be massive tests. You're going to start to see the world go literally south. But we have to remember, with all these planets up by the North Node, we have to remember that there's so much positive that's going north, but it's not going to be sold to you that way. It's going to be sold to you like it's going south. It's going to look like it's going south. And the more that you learn to let go, the more that you learn to allow things that look so good die, that you can't let go of, or that's not supposed to be the way that it's supposed to be, is when you'll actually come into the true stuff. And my final, last little message here to people is, And this might sound crazy to people out there who watch me, but the dark really has infiltrated so many of the light workers in this community and just all those that do this light work. And it's all going to be exposed. Okay? This eclipse, this lunar eclipse square Saturn, this Mercury retrograde, this Jupiter ingress into Aries with Chiron here, you're going to face whatever looks or you thought was good. There was dark agents that have come in, and it's time to do the raid Lightworker spray all over your life and to see what's really a cockroach behind what you think is the greatest thing. And to be honest with yourself and have the courage and the confidence to say no to things that look real shiny and real nice, but you know is not. And to also look inside of your beliefs of where you turn something that you think is so good instead of looking at the reality of what really is not. And so I'm just putting this out there to hopefully help people, as there's a lot of things that you've been trying to figure out or that you hoped would be or that make no sense to you in life that could actually become a lot clearer to you the more that you face a lot of the stuff that is going to be exposed within your own life, that is going to have to go through a massive, frustrating change, and also that you're going to have to disconnect with in order to move forward with. Saying no is a lot easier than saying yes, or saying no is a lot harder than saying yes, but saying no is also knowing and understanding boundaries. But when it comes to building things, you know, we're going to have to learn to say yes, but being very apparent about the clarity of what we're saying yes to is difficult, because we have to understand the facts better. We have to understand, you know, before we just say yes to everything. What a big lesson over the last couple of years. A lot of people fell for that spell of saying, yes, we'll do this. Yes, we'll go through with this, where systems and Saturn, Pluto energy and Pluto, Jupiter energy definitely took advantage of our whole entire collective. And if you don't think that that has transferred into your own life in different areas, or that you've cut off some of the areas in your life and taken on some areas that are actually, or energies or people or stuff that really are not divine in your life, you're going to have to be honest with yourself here. And so I hope this message helps. Of course, I'm going to have a lot of content that's already in the can, just getting edited, that's going to be coming out here this week and becoming throughout how I always do this job. I know I always show up, you know, on YouTube and stuff differently than I did for the many, many, many years that I showed up every day on here. But, you know, with the way that the world is and so forth, I knew I had to build a platform back in 2014 that gave value to the work that I do, and gave value to the horoscopes that I do, and give value to the schools I do, and give value to, you know, astrology itself. Astrology turned into this crazy, you know, just anybody throw out there whatever they want, and people find the value on their own. It's a free market of life. But, you know, at the same time, you know, the effort and the work and the time and the amount of energy over the last decade plus now of doing a video every day and the horoscopes, you know, I still offer as much as I can all the time for free out here on YouTube world, with whether it's a video like this, or whether it's, of course, spiritual dance music, or the new and the full moon horoscopes, or special stuff that I do. But, you know, it's definitely a time where if you really are about light work, you really are about this ascension, like, you got to be careful where you put your energy, including your work. And that's pretty much why I knew way ahead too, when Saturn was in Sag, about high vibe being like, they're going to be coming after things and censoring things. And boy, have I been more right about that than ever. So, and I warned people about that back in 2017. And it's going to be coming down harder. I mean, if you want to just, you know what the big wake-up call is here? Jupiter moving into Aries. Where have you just been so foolish to believe that everything's okay with Jupiter and Neptune that made their conjunction in Pisces? And we haven't seen that since 1856. And so when you see the US government create a department about truth, you know that there's no more such thing as free thought, free debate, free looking at what is true and what's not true at any minute. Because I've shown this in many videos to people out there, whether it's on High Vibe or out there in public, of even when it was the Governor General of Canada who was under Trudeau, who said, hey, you know, astrology is a pseudoscience. When you start getting into these waters, at any minute, these crazy control systems are going to say, hey, astrology's fake. It's the cause of bad disinformation. And they'll use people like me. And then all those other astrologers out there that are super lefty are going to blame it on me. And they're going to all put it out there, and they're going to all make you believe, to follow the narrative, to march you into sheep town. They've already been doing that. And I'm telling you, with Jupiter in Aries, and as I'm sitting here, it's not even happening at this moment as I'm recording this live, but later today, Jupiter will ingress into Aries and it will try my sun. And I'm using this energy to give you courage to not follow the sheep, and to make sure that you understand in your life right now that you're going to have to make some smart calls, and you're going to have to make some really very difficult choices in your life when it comes to understanding where you're connecting with in your energy, your journey, and when you take this energy of spirituality and light work seriously. Are the people compromised that you take it from? Are the people compromised in your life that you are connected with, that you're falling in love with, that you are in love with? Because at the end of the day, this is going to be a very intense moment here where things are going to start sliding really fast, and things are going to start falling off cliffs. And the second that you always see in history, Uranus start to cross halfway through Taurus, the world and the instability of it is going to be so unstable and so chaotic that you better know where you're getting your energy from, who you're spending your energy with, and making sure that it's on the up and up and on the divine and doing the work and staying confident that you can make it through these times. But it really is about where you're putting your energy and where you know in yourself that truth lies. Nobody can tell you what that truth is but yourself. And when you see a government institution out there under a president who, let's just be frank and honest, we don't even know who that person is and if that is really the truth of what it is. Creating such a ministry of truth, let's just call it. You know we're in some crazy times, and we know we're in a manipulation of every little number and digit that we see about economies and about the world. And there's a whole nother story going on. And especially when it comes to these wars and this war energy, you better all be prepared. By knowing who you're with, knowing where your information's from the divine, and being confident that it'll all be okay. But it's all about not being blind and waking yourself up, because the greatest wake-up call is taking off the blinders of Jupiter and Neptune that have been in Pisces, and using this little moment here to wake yourself up, to use this clarity that Mercury retrograde is going to give you here from Gemini back into Taurus, trine Pluto. That's retrograde. And remember, the last Pluto retrograde in Capricorn has already happened. So the systems are going to start falling deeper than we've ever seen before, and it's time to get ready and not be afraid, and time to be honest with yourself and to remove yourself from every energy that you have been manipulated to, that you thought was light, that probably was dark. And even the stuff that you were told was probably dark is probably actually the light. That's how crazy it is out there. I send you all my best. I'll see you all on Deep Love Tarot and all the other shows that I do that I can on here. And of course, if you want to be part of my manifesting school that I'm doing right now, just go to highvibe.tv, click on manifestation. I've already done 3 courses. You can be in the portal and watch the recordings, and I still have 3 more weeks where I'm talking with people live. So you can go to highvibe.tv, click on manifestation, or go to highvibetvschool.com for that as well too. I truly appreciate you all. I'm wishing you the best through these times, and don't be scared. But also at the same time, don't be so compliant. I appreciate you. Take care.